1938. Matson celebrating 25 years of commitment to Guam, Micronesia, and the CNMI. Cars Plus, home of Guam's first and only lifetime powertrain warranty. Visit carsplusguam.com for details. McDonald's of Guam, I'm loving it, and King's Restaurant, serving your local breakfast, lunch, and dinner favorites for over 45 years.
Ahead on Primetime, the use of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine has been paused at the request of the CDC and FDA. This after 200 island residents have already received the shot. Plus, one senator calls it an unfair situation, how some businesses can avail of the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program while others can't. And 9 Saipan firefighters are terminated from their jobs after they refuse to get the COVID-19 vaccine.
Hafa and good evening. I'm Adriana Cotero. The FDA and the CDC have recommended a ceasefire on the use of Johnson & Johnson vaccine in the war against COVID. Sabrina Salas-Matanani reports on what this means on the home front, as more than 200 island residents have already been given the shot.
Carrie Didasco and her husband Jason were one of the hundreds on island that decided to take the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. The couple received the shot Monday.
I already got it. I can't get it to get out of me, but I'm just not somebody that's going to dwell on it.
The FDA and CDC recommended the pause after 6 women between the ages of 18 and 48 developed blood clots after receiving the one-and-done dose. Their symptoms began 1 to 2 weeks ago after they got the shot. One died and another is in critical condition.
We are, of course, heeding this recommendation.
Public Health Chief Medical Examiner Dr. Felix Cabrera says the pause will allow time for more research and the collection of data. He doesn't expect the delay to last more than a few days.
We're seeing a correlation, but it's not necessarily a causation, as in the vaccine doesn't necessarily mean that it's caused the clot, but we're seeing the correlation. You need more data, you need better information to definitively say that, oh yeah, it's caused, there's a high likelihood that it's caused by it.
It was last month when Guam received its first shipment of the J&J vaccine. It was prioritized for use on the homeless, homebound, senior citizens, and inmates. DOC spokesperson Major Antone Uggins says their nurses on Tuesday were trained on how to give shots and were set to administer the J&J vaccine starting next week.
I did speak to our nurse this morning, and we're gonna stand by and wait for the public health guidance on how to proceed.
In terms of how this will affect Guam's path to half,
it is going to make it tougher.
Dr. Cabrera admits we might not reach the goal of 50% of the island's adult population being fully vaccinated to reopen travel next month.
We have to remember, safety number one. And is it the end of the world that we don't get 50% by May 1st? No.
A total of 246 island residents have already been inoculated with the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, although all 50 states, including Guam, have temporarily suspended the use of J&J. Carrie isn't worried.
Personally, I'm not extremely concerned because it's such a low amount of people, but, you know, knock on wood, it doesn't come knocking on my door.
Since it became available, 7 million doses of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine have been administered across the U.S. Today, the Guam Hotel and Restaurant Association held yet another vaccination clinic, mainly targeted at service workers. After a couple of successful clinics, it seems that GHRA has got their process down pat. President Mary Rhodes says the entire process usually takes just under half an hour.
We've been timing each of our rapid testing sites as well as our vaccination clinics. And from point of entry, from beginning to end, we average about 23 minutes. And that includes your observation time to wait to see if you have any side effects. And the reason why it's not as long as others is because we do a pre-registration through this online system.
There is no word yet when or if another clinic will be held. GDOE and Public Health will be holding another school-based COVID vaccination clinic on April 19th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Ukadu High campus. Superintendent John Fernandez.
The target group really is the Ukadu and Simon Sanchez students in that area of Dededo and Jigo. That's the target group. Of course, any student who's eligible can come as long as you're 16 and over and you meet the requirements of verifying your age.
Anyone under the age of 18 must be accompanied by a parent or guardian. Governor Lou Leon Guerrero has issued a new executive order further easing restrictions of the public health emergency. Effective Friday, April 16th at 8 a.m., places of worship may increase occupancy to no more than 75%. Competitive contact athletics will be allowed at schools. Indoor dining for restaurants and bars will also be allowed to operate at 75% capacity, with no more than 8 persons at a table. Outdoor tables may seat up to 15 people. All of the activities are subject to the established public health guidelines. Guam remains in pandemic condition of readiness 3. With graduations around the corner, DPHSS issued graduation guidance for high schools and institutions of higher learning. The guidance bans indoor face-to-face ceremonies. Ceremonies can be held outdoors, but must adhere to strict safety and social distancing protocols. GDOE Superintendent John Fernandez explains how high school administrators have been in discussion since January and February and decided on grad-and-go ceremonies.
Last week, I did get a call from Director Art St. Augustine, and he asked, he said, we're getting requests about graduation. He asked us about our plans, and I told him that, the schools had decided already, but I'm sure that if there are smaller schools who have an interest, they might be able to mobilize, much easier than we would when we're talking about 300 to 400 students, and trying to figure out their situation. So we said that we just informed them that these are our plans. Very unlikely to change at this point because the schools have been focused on getting the necessary support and resources to set their ceremonies up.
Fernandez says that it is unlikely there will be any change and that school staff and parents have started to plan accordingly. A second batch of some 10,000 EIP-3 payments has been processed, totaling about $35 million. Payments were made both by paper checks and electronic transfers. To date, a total of almost $89 million in EIP-3 payments has been processed. Most eligible taxpayers do not have to take any new action. DRT will use its available information to determine eligibility. For more information, check the DRT website at guamtax.com. You can also email your questions to guameip@revtax.guam.gov. Calling is not recommended due to the high volume. A quirk in President Biden's new American Rescue Plan law means some companies on Guam can qualify for the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program, while another business right across the street may not. Senator Frank Blas is calling out what he believes is an unfair situation. But Congressman Michael San Nicolas says it's simply what Congress wanted and there's little else that can be done.
Senator Blas says companies have complained to him about not being able to qualify for the disaster assistance because the new law requires that their business be in a low-income zone. The zones are based on data from the 2010 census that Blas says in many cases makes no sense.
Please tell me that Hotel Row is low income. And please tell me that Babulo is high income.
Blas wrote to Congressman San Nicolas seeking an explanation and fix to the problem. San Nicolas was asked about it at his news conference on Tuesday.
This census application of the EIDL is across the country. The problem that he's trying to create and the implications that he's trying to make about our office not doing his job is very, very incorrect because the exact same circumstances are found all across the country. So it was just the way that the package was created, but the implication from Senator Blas that somehow we were asleep at the wheel, I think just speaks to his ignorance.
I don't think there was ignorance in me asking the questions. I think the ignorance is in not being able to inform the community that this is how it has been passed by Congress, and heads up because some of you aren't going to be getting it. To compare, the streets that we have on Guam to Florida and to California is, there is no comparison.
If we're going to change that, then we would need to expand the program legislatively, and that would need to expand across the country.
And at this point, San Nicolas suggests that making any changes or accommodations for Guam in the program is not likely to happen.
We were able to get it for a certain segment of the community, and that's a win.
To say that we should take this as a win, we should appreciate for what we got. Tell that to the mom and pop store. Tell that to Oven's store in Barravata.
For Guam's News Network, I'm Nestor Lecanto.
The Guam Police Department's follow-up investigations into the Jerry Kitchen case has been completed and forwarded to the Office of the Attorney General. The OAG confirms they are in receipt of the police report and will conduct their own review and, if necessary, any further investigations. It was back in February when a red Jeep with several passengers inside, including an off-duty police officer, slammed into the restaurant storefront. The driver was cited for imprudent driving. As reported, Chief of Police Steve Ignacio hinted that new information unfolded throughout the course of their follow-up investigation. The OAG was unable to provide any findings detailed in the report. And stick around for more news here on Primetime. You're watching KUAM.
While we've all been through a lot over the years, typhoons, earthquakes, and now COVID-19, we've been able to get through these together.
For more than 80 years, Travelers Insurance has been protecting your homes, your businesses,
and the health of your family.
We are here today and we'll be here tomorrow.
There are better days ahead. Tomorrow's a new day filled with hope and choices.
The possibilities of what we can achieve together are limitless.
Let's continue to work together to ensure a brighter tomorrow for all of us.
It makes myself and it makes my team members very proud to work for an organization that has been on island for many years with its focus on reliability, dependability, and commitment to the communities that they operate in.
Matson's a great corporate citizen to the community.
We all benefit from any sort of environmental commitment we make. One of the ways that we do that is with our Adahi Utano program. There's action behind it, and so action breeds commitment.
With the Kaimana Hila coming to Guam, this brings a new age and modernization to the island.
It's exciting for me because it's a brand new ship and we can carry more freight into the islands. It just shows growth for Guam and Micronesia.
Matson would be nothing without its customers, and we hope to continue to serve you for decades to come.
KUAM News, winner of the 2020 Regional Edward R. Murrow Award for Excellence in Social Media.
Welcome back. In regional news, 9 CNMI firefighters have been fired for refusing to get the COVID-19 vaccine, and they are prepared to bring the heat on the CNMI government. On February 18th, the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands Governor Ralph Torres sent out a directive mandating all executive branch employees and activity heads to get vaccinated. This includes frontline agency employees at the Department of Fire and Emergency Medical Services and Department of Public Safety. As a result, the DFEM's Commissioner Dennis Mingiola sent out termination notices on March 19th to 9 firefighters who refused the COVID-19 vaccine, including the agency's now former Public Information Officer, Derek Gersandi. The notice for proposed adverse action served as a 30-day advance written notice on the employee's termination. Former DFEM's employee Adam Safer shared his notice with KUAM, which states, quote, "This requirement to be vaccinated was the first step in ensuring that you, your coworkers, and the community you serve are protected against the deadly virus. Your failure to adhere to this directive is considered insubordination to issued government department policy." Both Gersandi, Safer, and other fired personnel respectfully declined an interview, as they plan to take legal actions against the local government. Although Gersandi, who has worked under the agency for the past 10 years, provided this statement. He says, quote, "We are not anti-vaxxers, nor are we anti-science. But we are extremely concerned about the fact that we are being mandated to take a vaccine that is not FDA approved, nor as effective as it was originally believed to be when it comes to stopping the spread of COVID," unquote. Gersandi points out that within the local community, there have been at least 2 confirmed positive cases of COVID in which both individuals were fully vaccinated. While they may have been asymptomatic, he says this ultimately does not stop further transmission. Further, he states that he does not have any risk factors or comorbidities. As the CNMI government's directive stated that employees may provide an exemption request based on 2 criteria. 1, a medical exemption, or 2, a religious exemption. The 9 firefighters had yet to claim either exemption. Gersandi expresses how he feels penalized for not having any health problems and not choosing to use religion as an exemption excuse. The termination notice concludes with detailing the individual's rights in which they may respond against the adverse action within 20 calendar days. The former frontliners also have the right to appeal any final decisions on their employment with the Civil Service Commission. The termination notice was signed off by DFEM's Commissioner Dennis Mingiola, Office of Personnel Management Director Francis Torres-Sablan, and CNMI Attorney General Edward Manabusan. You can read Gersandi's statement in its entirety online on KUAM.com. Speaker Therese Terlahi's office says it has not received an official ethics complaint against Senator Tello Taitigui. A widely circulated complaint alleging several issues made the rounds via email, but according to the legislative rules, a complaint is only valid when submitted in writing and on the proper forms. Meanwhile, the Speaker also shared that the Legislative Ethics Committee's membership is rotated on a quarterly basis. The current members are Vice Speaker Tina Muñoz Barnes and Senators Talina Nelson, Sabina Perez, Clint Rigel, and minority member Senators Chris Duenas and Frank Blas Jr. The committee will meet on April 23rd to select a chair. Following meetings with GMH and the Guam Behavioral Health and Wellness Center, Vice Speaker Tina Muñoz Barnes and Senator Joe San Augustine introduced the 21st Century Healthcare for Excellence Construction Act of 2021. The measure would task VITA to enter into a contract with a private company to finance, design, construct, and maintain a new healthcare facility. GMH, Public Health, and GBHWC would still be tasked with coming up with the specifications to ensure their needs are met. The governor plans to set aside $300 million of the funds she is receiving from the American Rescue Plan to build a new hospital. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, however, has estimated that it will actually cost about $743 million. Committee Chair on Environment Senator Sabina Perez has introduced two bills to tackle the island's illegal dumping problem. Bill 115 updates the Guam Landlord and Tenant Rental Act of 2018 to mandate that landlords provide and maintain trash receptacles, as well as arrange for the removal of garbage from their tenants. Bill 116 would increase funding for Guam Environmental Protection Agency and other GovGuam agencies addressing illegal dumping by increasing the penalty for litter violations while also giving GEPA the flexibility to direct funds to agencies that take an active role in stopping illegal dumping. Through ESF funds provided under the CARES Act, families on Guam can now avail to free internet access through the GDOE PATH program. Today, Tyler Matson went to the MiFi distribution site in Manilao to speak with families on how this will revolutionize their child's distance learning.
Over 500 MiFi devices have been distributed to families through the GDOE providing access to homes or PATH program. This will bridge the opportunity gap and provide free internet access to quality online education. ITNE was awarded the bid through DOE to not only provide the devices, but also the resources for the distribution. ITNE Enterprise Sales Manager Janet Uggan.
In the past week, we found that the trend is picking up. We actually have two time blocks for distribution. We have a 10 to 12 and then a 3 to 7.
Uggan says that many families have expressed their appreciation to be able to utilize the free MiFi devices in their homes, therefore allowing their children to have access to the online learning environment. ITNE tech staff was also on site to assist families with becoming more familiar with the MiFi devices. Devonna Toves, a mother of two, described managing her children's distance learning experience as tough, but going well.
It's kind of hard for them to focus, but I've been getting them back on track with it, just constant reminders. It's tough, but it's going well.
Yeah. Do you plan on bringing them back to face-to-face education?
Well, not until it's 100% safe for them, then I would.
18-year-old GW honors student Alexia St. Nicholas describes how the PATH program will transform how she and other students in similar positions will be able to carry on with distance learning.
I do believe that, it will better our chances and our future. Some kids, they don't have access to any internet or any laptop. I'm just glad that GDOE does have the resources to help kids and let them learn.
Once again, this is a completely free program, GDOE ITNE providing free internet access to families in need. So take advantage of this opportunity and contact your child's schools and ask them about the PATH program. Reporting for Guam's News Network, I'm Tyler Matsani.
Thank you, Tyler. Attorney David Highsmith pled guilty to one count of assault as a misdemeanor. Highsmith entered a deferred plea agreement with the government, which threw out all other charges in the indictment. to include the dismissal of assault as a third-degree felony, terrorizing and official misconduct as misdemeanors. In 2019, Highsmith, who at the time was under the office of the AG, allegedly pushed attorney Gary Gumatautau in the courthouse. After a hearing, Gumatautau fell, was knocked unconscious, and transported to the hospital. According to the plea, Highsmith faced a 1-year imprisonment with credit for time served, but all was suspended. He was placed on a 1-year probation period and must comply with conditions to include staying away from Gumatautau and performing 50 hours of community service. Highsmith currently works under the Public Service Defender Corporation. In district court, Teresa Pareda pleads guilty to multiple counts of wire fraud. She entered a plea agreement on March 24th, which has not been publicized. This morning, at least 3 victims were present during the change of plea hearing via Zoom. One victim stated to the defendant that she forgives her but is still so hurt. She said, quote, "And I just want you to know that you did not break me. You have not broken my soul," unquote. We should note last year, Pareda also pled guilty to various bank fraud charges. As reported from January 2011 to September 2019, she's accused of scamming Dr. Robert Gatewood's dental clinic in Hagåtña, where she worked for years, out of more than $1 million. Dr. Gatewood is the husband of Chief Judge Frances Tedinko Gatewood, who had recused herself from the case. The court allowed Pareda to remain released on conditions pending sentencing, which was set for September 16th. Dave Delgado is next with your local sports roundup. Keep it here. You're watching KUAM.
Your community calendar is brought to you by Taco Bell. Whether it's your first meal or your 4th meal, we've got you covered. Taco Bell, live más.
We don't want to overhype the return of the quesalupa from Taco Bell, so we're skipping all the fanfare.
Oh, man.
We'll just tell you, the quesalupa's cheese stuffed shell is back, and we think you'll like it.
The thing about freedom is, freedom has no limits. There's no such thing as too many adventures or too many unforgettable moments. There will never be too many stories to write or too many memories to make. But when it comes to a vehicle that will be there for it all, there's only one. Jeep.
What's up, Guam? Dave Delgado here for KUAM Sports. Thanks for watching. Tonight on the show, we catch up with 2019 St. Paul graduate Jamar White, who just wrapped up his freshman season at Penn State Altoona, where he played guard for the basketball team. Check it out.
I kind of exceeded my expectations for how I was going to do this year. I came in not really expecting to really come out and score like I did. And I ended up getting a starting spot too. I really came out open-minded, just wanted to learn this year, and I ended up exceeding my expectations a little bit.
Played 8 games this season, averaging 12.5 points per game, 2.5 rebounds. You shot 49% from the field, but the number that stood out most was 62.5% from three-point range.
I guess the biggest thing that I learned is being a small guard like I am, you have to be I would say like exceptional at something, really good at something. And being a small point guard, shooting was the biggest thing to like make me stand out. And I knew that coming in the summer before coming into this year, I knew that in order for me to get time on the floor, I got to be able to space the floor and shoot the ball. So I spent this whole summer, or the whole summer before, working on my jump shot, and my hard work paid off.
And one thing from guys from Guam and just, having that island style of coaching, one thing that you can really say for yourself is you're a coachable player. Was that something that the coaches really looked at and were amazed at how well you were able to take everything in and translate that onto the court?
Again, going back to being a point guard, you're supposed to be an extension of the coach on the court. And I feel like that was what enabled me to stay on the floor longer, and just like there's like adjusting on the fly and stuff like that. That's something that you got to be able to do as a player if you want to continue to stay on the floor.
Being a collegiate player now, what are some of the things that you're really looking at trying to put into your game so in your sophomore season you're going to have more success?
I guess there's two major things. One, staying consistent with my play. That I'll have some games where I feel like I'm unstoppable, and then I'll come back the next game and be completely passive and not really doing much. And that was a big thing with me at Scotland too. And because it's college, you will be scouted. So after you play a team once, the next time you play them, it's not going to be the same game. They're going to be ready for what you're good at. And it showed after my first two games. My first game, I had 30 points, and then the team was able to scout, and they figured I was a shooter, and they cut that in half the next game. So that staying consistent, and two, being able to adjust on the fly to what teams give you.
We're not going to take too much time off. You're getting right back to working out, hitting the gym, and getting with your coach. What's next for you during this off time?
In the summer, right now, I'm looking at going to New Orleans. I'm gonna train with my coach from Scotland for about 3 weeks, and then I'm back to South Carolina. Try to put on a little bit more muscle, get stronger, work on my shot, everything that, and then we'll be back here in August.
And hopefully, we'll be able to see you suit up for our men's national team sometime down the road. What's the conversations like with Coach EJ Calvo?
Yeah, I've talked to EJ a couple times. Once before I left to Guam, and then while I was at Scotland, he pretty much just told me to just keep sending him film, keep working on my game, and that right there is like a big goal for me. I've always wanted to represent Guam on the men's team, so hopefully in the future, when I get a little bit better, work on my game a little bit more, I'll be able to represent Guam and do big things for Guam.
And, you know, there's a lot of young ballers out there following you on social media. What encouraging words of advice can you give our high school and young athletes out here on island that want to one day pursue basketball at the next level?
Man, I would say discipline, especially at this level, because when you get to college, you're going to be living on your own for the first time. You're going to have a lot more distractions. School is going to be a little bit harder. So I would say staying disciplined to continue to put in the work and stay in the books so that you're able to play good and excel off the court as well.
Well, make sure to catch tomorrow night's show as we bring you more information on the start of high school soccer. Well, that's going to do it for sports. We're back right after this.
We've made a lot of breakfasts, and along the way, we noticed something was missing. A warm cinnamon roll for breakfast, or with breakfast. A fluffy blueberry muffin from the drive-thru you're already driving through. A glazed apple fritter which might find its way into your coffee. These are options every breakfast haver should have, and now they do. Meet the new bakery sweets at McDonald's. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Guam's auto appearance specialist, Elegant Reflections, has been providing the automotive industry with professional detailing and car care products at its highest quality, from complete detailing, full interior detailing, exterior detailing, headlamp restoration, hand washing, seat and carpet shampoo, engine degreasing, undercarriage cleaning, paint sealant, fabric protection, paint oxidation removal, and so much more. Visit us at our new location. Call 646-5555 for an appointment. Elegant Reflections, Guam's auto appearance specialist, over 20 years of experience.
We continue with introducing you to each of the 6 of the island's most outstanding educators vying for 2021 Teacher of the Year. These teachers each share the passion and devotion to delivering quality education to each child that steps in their classroom. Joan Uggan-Charfris heads over to the home of the Flying Fish.
Hi, my name is Christine Gianchan. I'm teaching at Finnegan Elementary. I'm teaching kindergarten. I've been teaching kindergarten for over 3 years now, but overall I've been teaching for a little over 15 years.
Her journey to becoming an educator started while she was in college and a Sunday school teacher. Upon graduating, she was offered a job at Trinity Christian School.
I taught there for 6 months and I really enjoyed teaching in the classroom and teaching various grade levels. I applied with DOE as an emergency certified teacher and I got picked up. So thankfully, that was my introduction to becoming a teacher.
Gianchan describes her teaching style as unorthodox.
Teaching should have a lot of meaning to students and that it should be relevant to what they're learning at their age, at their state at the moment. So with kindergarten, I tried my best to do a lot of hands-on activities, not a lot of worksheets. So we do a lot of manipulatives, a lot of moving around, a lot of speaking, because it's they're still forming sentences in their social development. So we do a lot of interaction. It's not just I lecture and then you do a worksheet, but we go and we move around a lot, even during this time. So it's very exciting.
Her thoughts to being a finalist for this year's Teacher of the Year?
As a teacher, we don't look for recognition, but for someone to recognize you in, behind your closed, behind closed walls, no one sees what we do as teachers, so for someone to come in and validate what you've been doing and recognize your efforts, I mean, it means a lot. Not just for me, because I think it means a lot to all teachers. I'm so sorry. It means a lot to all teachers that, we're all trying, and, especially during this pandemic, for me to still be nominated and to still be part of the competition. I feel like this is a recognition to teachers everywhere.
And don't forget to mark your calendars for Sunday, April 25th for the live broadcast of GDOE's 2021 Teacher of the Year ceremony. It all happens at 6:30 p.m. on KUAM TV8. And before we close out the news tonight, our latest round of birthday shout-outs from the Cold Stone Creamery Birthday Club.
Happy birthday on this April 14th to Bill Cruz. Bill, thank you for all that you do for us, and thank you for your service. Not only is it Bill's birthday, but he will be hanging up his boots at the end of the month after 35 years of serving our country and our island. Happy birthday and happy retirement, Bill. Love you always and forever from your family. And Bill, from a grateful island, Sidus Masi, thank you for everything you do and enjoy retirement. And also happy day to the one and only Maria Gutierrez, Mrs. G. Happy birthday, Mom, from your favorite son, Jerry, who says, I love you, and the entire island. All the public schools, all of us who have the pleasure of knowing you, your amazing mochi that you make and share with everybody, the recipe, the mochi itself. Mrs. G, you are amazing. So Bill and Mrs. G, we hope the both of you have beautiful, beautiful birthdays.
That's going to do it for us here on Prime Time. Thank you for watching. Have a good night and be safe.